I'm Not Your Guru is a new movie out on Netflix starring Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, the well-known success coach, motivational speaker. And this is a review. Now, step back, full disclosure. Most people in the world either love Tony Robbins or hate Tony Robbins. They love him, they think he's the greatest guy ever, the best guru, someone who's a genius, someone who's helped them personally. If you don't like him, you probably think he's a cheesy, late-night shyster infomercial con man. I actually am one of the few people who's kind of in between. I have a mostly positive view of Anthony Robbins. I think most of his advice is pretty good. And I think he's certainly a lot less of a negative influence on people than other gurus, cult leaders, ministers, and others. When I actually look at any one piece of advice he gives, it's very rare that I think it's bad advice. And full disclosure, I've been to one of his weekend seminars before and seen him in action. He is absolutely a great public speaker. There's no doubt about it. But what do we think of this movie? I went into the movie with high hopes because I do have a fascination with speaking gurus, as you might imagine, with motivational speakers, and with someone who is routinely cited as one of the top speakers in the world. And I do think it's a well-deserved reputation for being a great public speaker. I've seen him speak from 10 in the morning till midnight, and people wanted more. So I had high expectations for the movie. I have to tell you, I'm about not quite halfway done, so you can factor that into your review of my review. But I have to say, I was profoundly disappointed. For starters, and folks, I'm not a prude, far from it. And I don't want to sound like a little church lady schoolmarm. But I have to say, it's a rare 15 seconds in the movie where he's not using the F word. Again, I'm not a prim, proper, prissy person. But it just seemed gratuitous. At some level, it just seems like you're trying too hard. This is real. I'm going to be real to you. I'm going to use curse words to be real. It just seemed kind of phony, trying too hard, and frankly, not great communication, because it's just, at some point, it becomes like an or It was said so frequently. Now, I don't curse on this particular show because this show's also heard on iTunes, and on iTunes, if you use any naughty words, you get banned from entire countries like India and their iTunes store. And I'd rather at least be available to the billion people in India. They're not all going to listen to me, but that's why I don't curse on this program for practical reasons. But if I did, I wouldn't feel the need to use the same F-bomb every 10 seconds. Okay, putting that aside, what's in the movie? So much of the time was about an intervention with a mother and daughter. They stand up at one of his big destination rallies, talk about their worst personal secrets and things that upset them in life. And I don't mean to sound condescending to it, but the daughter talks about how bad the relationship is with the father and how he's basically scarred her for life, caused problems, they're estranged, and Anthony Robbins says, why don't you go call him? And she calls him, and they're not happily ever after, but things are 1,000 times better. Here's the problem with this. That's an old act. Motivational gurus at public seminars have been doing that for decades and decades. I mean, that's something that was very much a part of the old Werner Erhard seminars, the S seminars back in the 70s. I went to one that was rebranded the Forum, still the Erhard system, almost a quarter of a century ago, and that was a staple of what they were doing. Ask someone, stand up, what are your problems? Oh, my awful mother, my awful father, what's wrong? They did this, this, and this. Are you talking to them? No. What's the advantage of not talking to them? Nothing. What's the advantage of if you did talk to them and you got back together again and you were happy? It would be great. Okay, Here's a quarter, go call them, they said at the time. Now it's just pick up your cell phone and call them. And they come back and, oh my God, everything is so much better. It's perfectly good advice to tell people that you should call a family member, forgive them, and talk to them. But it's not very new or original or creative or clever. And I just didn't find it very compelling. The other part I just find amusing these days, it's become quite fashionable to say, I'm not a guru. I hear that all the time. Don't be a guru. And a lot of gurus make a lot of money telling other people, don't call yourself a guru and don't be a guru. Well, guess what? Anthony Robbins has, for years, charged some people $1 million a year just for the right to be able to call him any time of day or night. Let me tell you something, folks. If someone's paying you $1 million just for the right to call you and ask advice, you're a guru. He is a guru. And I think for the most part, a good one. You certainly haven't heard stories of him molesting little children like so many other leaders of spiritual enterprises have happened. Even the case of the blisters on the feet, he's made a convincing case that that's been overblown in the media. So I think for the most part he's a benign force in the world, and in some cases is helpful. But wow, it sure didn't have anything new or particularly creative come out. Again, it's with the caveat, I've seen the first half of the movie. If I radically change my mind after finishing it, I'll let you know. I'd like your opinion of the movie, not your opinion of Anthony Robbins, because I know those of you who love Anthony Robbins are going to feel obligated to say, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. And you're going to feel obligated to say I'm a horrible person because I dared to criticize your guru. I get that. But I am interested in your actual opinions of the movie I'm Not Your Guru. Post them here. Place them on social media if you're hearing this or seeing this anyplace else. If you're listening on iTunes, then post your comments for me on Twitter at TJ Walker.